Alright, welcome back to Cockroach Charlie Presents. This week's movie I dug up at a yard sale about last summer. You know how it goes, you go to a yard sale, you see a box of crap movies, you go through them, throw most of them away, maybe find one you like. Well, this one I spotted and immediately pulled it out of the box because of this. Dolph Lundgren is a Swedish-made action movie star. He got his big break in the odd, if enjoyable, Rocky IV as the opponent, Ivan Drago. He then went on to star in the ill-fated Masters of the Universe, and since then has been in a lot of really silly films. Now let's face it, everybody's got their action star. There's Chuck Norris, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, Red Brown, the list just goes on. But everybody has one that just stands out for them, one that they just like above all the others. And for me, that's Dolph Lundgren. I don't know why. Maybe it's just the name alone. Just listen to that. Dolph Lundgren. That just sounds cool. Come on. But anyways, as soon as I pulled this movie out of the box, I found myself putting it back in the box due to this. Keanu Reeves is an actor, and I use that term loosely, whose only decent role in history was the character of Ted in the original Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. He then went on to star in such films as Devil's Advocate and The Matrix, next to such great actors as Al Pacino and Hugo Weaving, who spend their screen time proving to us just how poor of an actor Keanu Reeves really is, and yet he still has a career. Inevitably, I went on to purchase the movie, and it turns out I was proven right yet again. Dolph Lundgren acts circles around Keanu Reeves. Let me say that again. Dolph Lundgren acts circles around Keanu Reeves. In fact, you know what? New drinking game. Every time Keanu Reeves fails to deliver a line, take a shot.
Oh no, you don't.
Hey again. Look, even you have to admit, Boris, this movie deserves it.
I remember how you were doing Evil Dead. I'm sorry, Charles, but I must forbid you to do this.
Relax, come on. I'll be fine. I'll be good.
That's what I thought.
Right, anyways, quick sum up. Johnny Mnemonic is a cyberpunk film set in a dystopian future where mega corporations pretty much rule the world. Guys called Mnemonic couriers are secretly smuggling data back and forth to various buyers, and a group of resistance fighters called the Low-Techs are trying to just make everything happy again. The film is loosely based off a short story, as well as a couple of others by the same name, by William Gibson, and as expected, it received a lot of flack because it didn't stick to the short story very well at all. But, as you all know about me, I don't give a damn about that. All I'm really hoping for is that we get a good film using the cyberpunk genre, because there really aren't a lot of them, let alone good ones. So, how does it stand up? Well, that's what I'm here to find out. So because you didn't ask for it, this is Johnny Mnemonic. When we open the movie, we see our protagonist Johnny, who is never officially given a last name, although he goes by a few, with either a girlfriend or a hooker who is never given a first name. Within seconds, she leaves the movie, never to be seen again, and we are never given a reason. Well, this is a good start. Johnny is a mnemonic courier who's trying to get out of the job and get an implanted chip out of his head so he can have his memories returned. Unfortunately, his agent, Ralphie, has just informed him that the price for removal just went up and Johnny needs just one more job. Before assigning him, Ralphie checks to make sure that Johnny picked up an upgrade to his chip beforehand. And there you have it, people. The first question of the movie within the first 5 minutes. If Johnny's previous job was supposed to be his last, why would he need the upgrade? Anyways, to advance the plot a little bit, Johnny uses a memory doubler thing to double his brain capacity. And this is unfortunate because double of nothing is still nothing. And this will become plainly obvious throughout the movie, I assure you. Johnny gets to the location of some Pharmacom defectors. Pharmacom is one of those mega corporations I mentioned earlier, and these guys have Pharmacom info they want to give to, well, as far as I can tell, the low-techs. It's never really explained, okay, again. Anyway, they explain that he needs 320 gigabytes of space in his brain, but unfortunately we already know that he does not have enough room. This is unfortunate in that having too much data can cause seepage and harm his real brain over time. Johnny, however, recognizes that this isn't much of a problem, as he's not using his for much anyways, and decides to proceed. After they go through the upload process, which looks painful as hell, for some reason I love watching this, and they choose a download code by randomly selecting 3 images from the TV screen. Next thing we know, the Yakuza bust in and pretty much wipe out everybody in the room except for Johnny, who's busy hiding in the bathroom. He manages to escape, but loses 2/3 of the download code, and as one of the defectors tries to burn the rest, the Yakuza leader named Shinji chops his hand off with a monofilament whip. Also, check out this little anime guy in the background of the fight scene. Watch this. Really, I'm not sure what the point of it is, but it really does add that little extra touch to what's already a pretty darn good action scene. Johnny manages to escape, and his agent agrees to arrange for a meeting with the customer to get the data out of Johnny's head before it kills him.
What's going on, Ralphie?
Watch this guy. Seriously.
Own deal, man.
You say you have to get the data out. They are the only ones who can do it. There's no other choice. Trust me. I will tell the driver where to take you.
Seriously, tell me this guy's on the level. Look me in the eyes and tell me you think this guy's not looking to screw over Johnny. We cut to a club where Ralphie happens to be, and we see our female protagonist, Jane, played by the exotic Dina Myers, finally giving us something worthwhile to watch. She attempts to enlist with Ralphie in the services of a bodyguard by showing off that she's better than his existing bodyguard.
Take it easy.
Oh, come on, Dina. Look at the kind of people this guy associates with. I'm not actually sure at all what gender they're supposed to be. Hell, I'm not even sure if they qualify as human. You can do better than this. Come on. Ralphie decides he doesn't want her because she has a case of NAS, nerve attenuation syndrome, also called the Black Shakes. Basically, it's a techno plague that's become epidemic. And Ralphie figures he doesn't want somebody like that in his crew, but he's more than happy with these 2 things.
You damaged goods, bitch.
Hey, you take that back, you son or daughter of a bitch! Nobody talks about Dina that way. Anyway, Johnny goes to meet with his customer, unknown that he's being watched by the leader of the Low-Techs, J-Bone, played by Ice-T, who picked some really weird movies to star in.
Who'd you used to be?
A cop.
Figures.
Yes, Special Victims Unit to be precise.
We're here to help you.
So Johnny goes in for the meeting, plants a bomb which nobody seems to notice despite the audible noises it makes. And it turns out that everybody was right and the meeting was a screw job and another fight breaks out. Johnny makes his escape but is pursued by a bald villain who, while stalking Johnny, shoots J-Bone's little buddy and somehow doesn't see J-Bone standing right next to him. Look at Ice-T's face in this shot. I love that face he makes. It's like he's not sure whether he should be shocked or upset or relieved or just plain intrigued by that odd turn of events. Long story short, Johnny rescues J-Bone, who in turn rescues Johnny, and Johnny decides to find out who this new character is. And J-Bone is more than happy to oblige. Not only does he tell Johnny his name, he's polite enough to point out that he is the leader of the Resistance and their headquarters is that-a-way. Really? Wow. This guy is oddly trusting of people he's never met before, especially somebody like Johnny, who looks like trouble and looks like he works for one of the mega corporations that the Low-Techs are fighting. I mean, for all he knows, he just gave away the location of his headquarters to a guy who's going to stab him in the back later. Little does he know. Let's move on to where Johnny accosts Ralphie and gets himself kidnapped. Okay, let's watch that scene again one more time. Oh, that never gets old. Anyway, it turns out that Ralphie is working for Shinji, who doesn't just want the chip in Johnny's head, he wants the whole head. This scene here is pretty good. I enjoy how casual the characters are talking to each other as the villain explains how he's going to chop off Johnny's head, as Johnny, while trying to bargain for his life, never goes to blubbering and begging. But if you don't like it, don't worry, Jane to the rescue! Johnny gets the bright idea to hire her on the spot for $50,000, and she releases him and they make their getaway. Shinji puts his monofilament whip to use again, and it's amazing how this weapon can cut through metal and bone, but damned if it isn't stopped by a chain link fence. Not to look impotent, he carves up Ralphie instead. Whilst they make their escape, Johnny goes into a long and very detailed bit of exposition for Jane as to what mnemonic couriers are and the chips in their heads.
How come you knew those?
Yeah, you kind of just have to get used to that with this movie. People explaining things to people who should already know. Let's take Jane here, for example. Now, it's obvious that she spends most of her time on the wrong side of the law, and it's established that she has a number of implants herself. However, you'd think that she would have at least met a mnemonic courier at some point in her life, or have an understanding of how the brain implant works. But she acts like all this technology stuff is brand new to her. Unfortunately, for the audience's sake, I understand, you have to explain some things. But this movie was really trying to push cyberpunk into the mainstream. And in cases like these, all you're really doing is slowing down the movie and boring audiences with technical stuff they probably don't even understand anyways. So it was a really bad idea to spend more time explaining the plot than actually advancing it. In here, we also get a quick cut to a guy named Takahashi. He's a Yakuza leader who has lost his daughter to the Black Shakes and is suddenly visited by a ghost or something through his computer. She explains that Shinji, who works for him, is a bad guy, and that getting the data out of Johnny's head for the good purposes can give him new meaning in life. Now, they do eventually get around to explaining Ghost Lady here, but until then you're kind of just left going, what the fuck? And unfortunately, after another long, detailed explanation, you're still left kind of going, what the fuck? After Shinji's second failure to capture Johnny, Takahashi decides to call in for extra help from a priestly hitman named Carl, who's usually referred to as Street Preacher, and is played by the last person you would expect to play him. Dolph fucking Lundgren. I cannot believe what I'm seeing here. Dolph Lundgren is playing this raggedy technophile priest who moonlights as a hitman to further upgrade his tech while wielding a knife shaped as a crucifix. Yeah, you heard all that right. I am not making this shit up here. And the weirdest part is, I totally buy him in this role. He performs it so well that it actually works, and he's really the reason to watch this movie.
The girl who took Ralphie's boy out of the back room. Who is she?
You expect me to remember half the shit?
Who's the girl?
I wanna be.
And trust me, it can't get any weirder than this guy right here. Let's move on. Johnny scams Jane's credit card and arranges a meeting with Pharmacom to extract the data from his head. But before he can get to the meeting, Jane has a Black Shakes attack, and Johnny debates for a moment to leave her there to rot before taking her to a guy named Spider.
Your son.
He ultimately discovers that Johnny is curing a cure for NAS, but Johnny doesn't want Spider to remove it for two reasons. One, it would leave him a complete drooling idiot, which I can understand why he wouldn't want that, even if it isn't too much of a change. And two, it's worth a lot of money. Okay, Johnny, let's take a quick look at that. Number one, the lobotomy. Now that makes sense, I understand. Even though it would save a lot of people, you don't want that done to you. So you're not the hero type, I buy that. But number 2, it's worth a fortune. Now that just turns you into a selfish dickhole, doesn't it? Especially when you consider that the low-techs are one of the options, who can't afford it anyways, nor can this spider guy, or Pharmacom, the guys that the movie is going to establish are actively attempting to suppress the cure, meaning you're not being a hero, you're being just a selfish prick. And in truth, these are the same guys who are trying to chop off your head. Honestly, this movie is being advanced through Johnny's idiocy and his selfishness, constantly. So shit goes straight to hell at this point as the street preacher arrives and wreaks havoc in another pretty good fight scene. Spider, being a hero himself, holds him off while Johnny and Jane make their escape. And then Johnny decides to call Pharmacom and attempt to arrange another meeting. Where? At the Low-Tech's headquarters. Okay, I guess that makes a lot of sense. Get in touch with Pharmacom, hand over the cure they want to suppress, as well as the guys who are trying to distribute the cure. Get them all cleaned up at one time. Whose side are you on, asshole? Still, J-Bone pops out and agrees to take them in to meet a guy named Jones who can supposedly help Johnny. Just like everybody else supposedly can, right? Before they meet him, Johnny and Jane do share a small tender moment where Johnny explains his problems with the memory loss due to the chip. Really, Dina? Really? Come on! He hires you and is yet to pay you for your work, and then he scams your credit card and nearly leaves you for dead. He refuses to give up the cure to the black shakes for you, and generally treats you like shit throughout this entire movie. Come on, what is with you and these kinds of guys? First it's Johnny Rico, now it's Johnny No Name? I mean, really, is that what it takes? Do you just like guys who treat you like shit? Honestly, if that's what it is, I'm okay with that. Really, I will gladly command you to make my sandwiches. I am willing to go to that length for you, Dina. Anyways, on to meet Jones. But first, let's check out the Low-Tech's headquarters. For a bunch of complete technophobes, they sure do have a lot of it, don't they? And there's Jones. Okay, let me sum that up for you. Yes, Jones is a dolphin. But he's not just any dolphin. Jones is a cybernetically enhanced, super intelligent, former Navy, heroin junkie dolphin. I am not making this up, people. I am serious. Okay, admittedly, the heroin junkie part is actually from the short story and is not included in the film, but it's there. I mean it. I am dead fucking serious. This has got to be the weirdest thing I have ever seen in a serious attempt at a movie. I mean, look, even Johnny is having a hard time suspending his disbelief over this one.
It's a fish.
I mean it, what inspired this guy? What LSD-induced brilliance created Jones the Dolphin? I mean, I cannot imagine who would come up with something like this. Easily, okay, this is easily the weirdest part of the movie. And the best part about this, I can't tell if that's a good thing or a bad thing in this film.
Mammal.
But I don't know, I keep feeling like I'm forgetting something. Oh, that's right, Genius summoned the Mook army right to the Low-Tech's front door. This begins the epic battle of the movie between the Yakuza and the Low-Tech. It might have been cool to watch, but unfortunately we spent too much time on Johnny and Jane. First, when Takahashi confronts them. Nobody asks the obvious question about how he managed to sneak all the way in during a major battle, or why he didn't clue his buddies in on his secret. No, the first question Johnny asks is...
Pharmacom.
Really? You're still going to try and negotiate? I hate you. Suddenly, Ghost Lady appears and tells Takahashi that Johnny is carrying the cure for the Black Shakes, which Pharmacom has been deliberately suppressing, which, in turn, ultimately led to the death of his daughter. Oh well, too bad, Shinji shoots him. Okay, for as smart as Ghost Lady has been acting throughout this movie, one really has to wonder why she didn't just tell Takahashi this the first time she met him, and that would have saved us a lot of trouble. Of course, it also would have saved us a whole lot of movie, but that's different. This leads to a fight between Johnny and our second loose end in true overly drawn out fashion. The fight ultimately ends with Johnny killing Shinji with his own thumb whip. Hey, thumbs up for Johnny! Come on, that was good. A moment later, the third member of our villainous trifecta arrives, Dolph Lundgren. He spends a few moments kicking the ever-loving shit out of Jane, while Johnny, being his usual helpful self, gets the second part of the download code from Takahashi. Then he joins the fight against the street preacher. You know, based on what we've seen of Johnny thus far, the only reason he helps Jane is probably because he wouldn't have time to crack the code and make his getaway while Carl is busy. While the fight itself is pretty short, kind of like the others, we do get to see Carl crucify Jane and... Wait, where did his rope go? Honestly, I didn't cut that. Look! Rope there, rope gone. One moment he has a rope, next moment it's gone, replaced by apparently a toga. Anyway, Johnny ends up electrocuting Carl and burning him to death. It's time to enter the mind of Keanu Reeves. Why am I not surprised it looks like this? While here, Johnny finds the third image, and J-Bone sends the cure out to the entire world, despite the fact that I doubt any average person would make the slightest bit of sense out of this. As I kind of mentioned before, though I admit I skipped a few parts of the movie for this, nobody seems to understand anything about this world unless it relates to them in the most direct way possible. Therefore, no, nobody's going to make any sense about all that crap J-Bone just sent them. I sure as hell didn't. Anyways, to make a long story short, everything's all well and good. The low-tech send out the cure, everybody's happy, Pharmacon is destroyed, and it's a good ending for all involved, though I'm not sure why Johnny deserves to have one. Let's face it, the guy's a complete asshole. In fact, the only reason the low-techs got the cure was because they were the only ones willing to try and extract it without killing Johnny. Everything Johnny does in this movie is for completely self-serving purposes. And Dina loves him for it. Anyway, the movie isn't too bad, but I am kind of being nice there. It gets dragged around through endless amounts of exposition and a plotline that needs multiple viewings to make any real sense of, and not in the cleverly written sort of way. And when you've got a protagonist whom you simply cannot find yourself liking, it's hard to enjoy the rest of the movie. Not to mention, the acting by our lead is at least constantly way off target. However, with that said, there are some good reasons to watch this movie as well. Dolph Lundgren, of course, really steals the show throughout the film, even though he's in a role that probably could have been written out with no impact to the plot whatsoever. The action is also really good, with the slaughter at the hotel being among the best scenes in the entire movie. Also, the cyberpunk feel is just throughout the entire film. So, if you're a fan of the genre, I'd definitely give this one a go-ahead. Or, if you're just looking for a cyberpunk film or another silly Dolph Lundgren movie, this one's worthy of your collection. It's definitely not for everybody, but it was definitely one for me. I'm Cockroach Charlie, and now if you'll excuse me, I need to go install a lightning rod.